Okay, don't worry if you haven't finished it. We'll just whip through. So, Mary, bless her. Who thought? Okay, somebody tell me. What do you think is the number one?
We were torn between poor memory and impulsiveness, but we decided on poor memory in the end.
Okay.
And then we went second with impulsiveness and third with poor executive skills.
Okay.
And the rest of the other two are sort of irrelevant.
Yeah. Sense of smell and taste don't seem relevant in this at all. Did everybody have a similar? So these guys said memory first. She forgot. She forgot about the fact that this, she just said that her son had died. And they were talking about that. And then you said it was the impulsiveness and disinhibition. Yeah. And then the poor executive skills. And then you said fatigue and tiredness after that, and then poor sense of smell and taste.
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody have a similar?
We got poor executive skills second, and then impulsiveness third.
Okay. So first you had the poor memory.
So poor memory, and then executive skills, and then impulsiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would you relate sense of the smell and taste to this case?
You wouldn't.
No, that's why
It's irrelevant, I think.
It's a bit of a left field. They've just chucked it in there to see, because what they're saying is with all of the elements of brain injury, so much is interconnected, so much of it is everything together. And is it language? Is it the control? Is it fatigue? Is it emotion? Is it taste and smell? Is it, what is it? And actually the answer to these questions, there is no set answer. It's very, very difficult to know exactly what it is. But ultimately, if you know Mary and you go out with Mary a lot and you see how Mary behaves a lot, you can start picking up the patterns of what really actually is happening and going on, and where those issues are really lying, and where those challenges really are. This side of the table, can you do Wayne? What did you get for Wayne?
For me, number 5, poor executive skill.
Yeah.
Maybe the main problem.
Mhm.
And then maybe impulsive and disinhibition, because maybe he just did the first thing that came to his mind.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about it, but the number 5 definitely.
Yeah. His connections in that story are a bit weird, aren't they? The way that he sort of associated different things and he's linked it all together, and that's what makes me feel it's more his executive functioning skills that actually are challenged. Did anybody else get differently?
Well, we just put number 1 as impulsiveness and disinhibition. Because even if you associated something, you probably wouldn't
Say
work
it.
on it straight away. And then the second thing is the execution, the
Yeah.
executive skills. So
Yeah.
the fact that he didn't, first of all, he was sort of impulsive and disinhibited. Then secondly, he had issues with the executive skills as well. Hence, he kind of went with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Problem is, it's his translation.
yeah.
That was the translation. So the impulsiveness, absolutely. He's seeing lips and he wants a kiss, and then he's going straight for it and he's saying exactly what he thinks. But again, what he's forgetting, and this is the kind of executive skill, is the memory of actually by putting lipstick, she's just putting chapstick on. Actually, she might just have lips that are a bit sore, or why would she be doing that? Is it actually, talk about the egocentric? Is this for me?
Yeah.
He's seeing it as, okay, she's doing that because I'm standing here. He's lost the connections and the translation of what it is that she, is doing. And then it's just that whole, association of it and bringing it all in together, and the whole thing starts falling. And he's read the whole thing completely wrong. So how do we get around this? Tricky. Appropriate eye contact is one of them. Okay, so again, are you talking to me? Check it out with them. Are you talking to me in this, or are you having a conversation with me, or is there somebody down there that you're talking to? I mean, you say that to children, don't you? Who are you looking at? Make contact, talk to me when you're doing that. Sometimes you need to give very direct feedback and explain to them why they're doing it. Or also what you might need to be saying to them is, you are now staring. Okay, so give them a feedback. The only way they're going to have awareness of this stuff is by feedback, the only way. So you need to take back situations and reflect on those situations with them, because sometimes in the moment it's very difficult to actually interject and say, okay, hang on a minute. Gesture and body distancing. A lot of this is role play, a lot of this is therapy, a lot of this they have to do in speech and language therapy and understand what it is that they're doing that's inappropriate, because they have no idea, they haven't realised. So in that David Tennant, when he grabs that woman, he has just gone exactly and done what his brain has told him to do in his very impulsive and Neanderthal, that's what I want, that's what I'm going to grab. And basically that needs to be fed back, and those gestures and body distancing needs to be explained. Learning how to take, again, this is what I said about being in a group situation with other people is the best way to work with this. There's, I don't know about locally because I don't work in this area locally, but certainly where I am, there are a couple of areas that the Integrated Neurological Services, that are community and charity service. I refer a lot of people in there so that they get practice and experience of talking together. But speech language therapists that you work with or you know of in the area, they should be able to access and be aware of places. Listen to what is being said and remember it. It's a hard one, I don't always do that. So you have to go back to what we've talked about with memory, okay? In certain situations, especially if you think about if they're going to health appointments or they're going to see the doctor, and they've got to get information and they've got to learn from the doctor to feed back to people, or think about your lady who's going to a speech and language therapy sessions. Would she actually be able to remember everything that she's being taught? I don't know what her memory's like, but would she be able to recount what her therapy is? Would she remember it? But do you check in and get her to tell you what she's been doing as a way to check in and find out? Those kind of things. Or actually, should she be going in there with her smartphone and recording it? So that actually if she records the session, then you can both listen to it together and say, well, what does that mean? Why did you do that? Is that something that you should be practicing with us? Because the more regularly you repeat, practice, maybe there will be a change. Maybe there'll be a management. Use of appropriate tone, volume, rhythm and voice of speech. Good luck with that one. The good thing to do with that is when you watch TV programmes, okay? Because a lot of this is reading people's emotions, and actually what you might be seeing might be something very different from what they're seeing or what they're understanding. So good old soap operas, they're always a winner, okay? Sit there with the person and say, God, what's going on here? Check in with them. Are they reading that emotion right? Is he angry or is he frustrated? She's sad, or is she just in love and she's crying because she's in love? Because people go tears, oh, that means sad, really sad. Or just try and get them to explain to you what they are seeing. That brilliant bit in that recovery clip was when he was in that room and he went into that void, didn't he? If you remember that he was looking at all the faces and all the faces were flat, they were all non-expression. He wasn't reading anyone's expression. So that was what that was trying to show. And in sense of, rather than them being horrified, which is probably what they were doing, when he was shouting, going, I'm not a malingerer, they were very flat to him, weren't they? He wasn't seeing what his voice and his tone of voice was doing to them, because he was just seeing them as flat. So again, check in with them about what they're reading in that situation and what they're seeing. There is a huge area, I can't go into it now, but a huge area around culture. I mean, different ways that cultures talk and how people are expected to speak to each other. So it's very difficult if you suddenly start telling a person, you've got to make eye contact when you talk, when really the culture is always that they should be looking down or not making eye contact with the opposite sex or with, people in a higher rank than them. We've got to be culturally sensitive to things like that. So that's something just to probably be aware of. And respond to non-verbal cues, facial expressions and body languages. One of the best pieces of work that we do, certainly around this cognitive, this area, this pragmatics, is we do a lot of filming. We do lots and lots of filming in situations, and then we play it back to people in a safe environment. But essentially what we do is, it's a bit like the gentleman that you were talking about earlier, is then you sit down and you unpick it with them and say, what was happening for you there? Why were you doing, what triggered that reaction? Do you think that's an appropriate way to speak to somebody? Is that the right? And really go through it with them to understand exactly what they think. Because actually it's like all of us. If I was to look at this video back later on, I'll be thinking, God, did I really say that or do that? So this is where actually having it on film and having it back and reading back is a good reflection tool. Because if they can't write it down or they can't remember it, you've got it on the camera, you can go through it with them. So that's that.
The very funny thing about this gentleman who I was working with, he used to love watching Dukes of Hazzard, and we obviously used to do like ABC charts and stuff, and we used to have like lots and lots of episodes suddenly, and we realized looking at the ABC charts and like the videos that he was watching Dukes of Hazzard, and then that was like a trigger point because
Was it?
they're all very liked,
Yeah, yeah.
and like fighting and then we said, okay, no more doing
Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard.
That's the trigger.
For a while.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Or in that instance, if that's his thing that he loves and meaningful, what you have to do is watch it at the right time,
Yeah.
so that you know that afterwards you're not going to go out into
Yeah,
the community where he's just going to then take on some of those roles.
Yeah, it was generally before dinner time that would happen. So what we realized is he would watch that, and at dinner time there would be quite like a few people who would be sitting down, like having, and they would talk to him and things. And it suddenly, like, even the little things became like a Duke of Hazzard.
Yeah, reenactment.
Where he has to be like,
Yeah.
like the alpha.
Yeah, the
male.
aggressor.
And then, that's exactly what we did. We were like, no more Dukes of Hazzard
For
before
dinner. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just sleep with it. So.
Yeah, God, he loved it. Yeah, and that's it. And it's picking the timing and it's looking at those triggers. So there we go. So that's that. Well done for sticking with me all day. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Is there anything? I'm sure you are all needing a break and fresh air. But if there are any questions, if there is anything that you want to sort of check in and talk about, please contact me, email me. As Emma said, if there's anything specifically that you want to look at or talk about, then absolutely no problem, contact me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.